Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to start by getting you all to introduce yourselves. So if you tell us your name, what you're studying, including any majors, and where you're studying as well.
So my name is Cody. I just completed actually a double in business and digital media, majoring on marketing and digital marketing.
I'm Nikki from Bond University. I studied actuarial science, majoring in data analytics and finance for my undergrad. And then I went and did honours in actuarial science, and now I'm doing a PhD.
Hey everyone, my name is Paul. I'm studying a double degree with international business and government and international relations at Griffith.
Well, thank you all so much for joining me. Cody, I'd like to start with you. And I just heard that you actually studied a Bachelor of Public Health before moving on to study a Bachelor of Business and Digital Media. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, traditionally when I was in high school, I had a passion for the health industry, and I was doing health certificates while I was in high school and moved on to public health as a pathway. That was a really great experience. However, it did kind of show me what things I really did enjoy and what I didn't enjoy, and kind of went down a pathway into health promotion nutrition, which was actually a form of marketing in the kind of health industry, which I went into the work industry for a while, and I worked for a few years, and I worked out, I want to go back to university and gain more skills. So I actually studied at Southern Cross University for my second attempt at university, and obviously went on to a business degree to gain a bit more skills.
And what skills do you believe you're going to get with this business degree? Or what have you achieved with this business degree?
You know what, I found with my business degree, the most amount of skills I got were actual life skills. Besides of what I got in my degree, which was obviously understanding theoretical and marketing concepts, was applying them to real life aspects and what you're doing in the workplace. I worked full time most of my degree, so everything I was learning in my degree, I was actually using in the workforce straight away. So that was a really cool experience, but I think a lot of people, and these guys would probably agree, a lot of skills you get out of a university degree is not the skills you get from the course, but the life skills you get. Time management, how to prioritize things, how to allocate your money efficiently, especially obviously being a student. It's pretty hard to save some money and obviously be a student at the same time, as well as wanting to go on holidays and everything. All those life skills that, create challenges around you so you can obviously do better in the future. I think that's what I got a lot out of it.
You've just finished, so what's your plan now? Are you going to open your own business?
Another great aspect about a business degree is that I've actually had 3 different types of careers. I've spent 5 years in the fashion industry, and I was working as a state manager of Cambridge Clothing Company and managing about 30 retail stores. Then as soon as I did graduate, I went into the property development industry. It wasn't for me, the perception of the job versus what I thought it was going to be. But now I actually work at Southern Cross University. I've had a great opportunity where Southern Cross University is quite a small university where you know all your lecturers and tutorial teachers by name. And an opportunity came to work in their marketing department, and I picked up a position there now that I've finished. So I really love working in the education industry, but I've used the same set of skills that I've used in the fashion industry, the property development industry, and now in education. So it's been cool. It's very diverse.
Great. Nikki, you ended up doing an honours year at the end of your bachelor's and now onto doing your PhD. For those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about what an honours year is and why you decided to continue on to a PhD?
Yeah, absolutely. So an honours year, depending on your university and the particular degree, kind of depends on how it's structured. So with some faculties, the honours degree is sort of attached onto the back end of your undergraduate degree. That's, I would say, the traditional way of doing it. At Bond with the actuarial science program, given that actuarial science is part of the Actuaries Institute, which is a profession in its own right, there's actually, to gain the professional accreditations, there's a process you have to go through, and honours constitutes part 2 of a 3-part process in becoming a qualified actuary. And so the way that my honours program was structured was an honours degree was a degree in its own right. So I did my undergraduate degree, completed that, and then I moved on to my honours degree, which was a postgraduate degree. And that constituted coursework and then also a small research project. And so that research project really gave me a taster of what research is all about. Finding an idea and a project that you're really interested in, and then really drilling down into the nitty-gritty of that project and finding things that haven't been found before or expressing things in new ways. So that was my honours year, and that was only 8 months at Bond. So given the trimester structure, the honours year was only 2 semesters, which was 8 months. And then following that, I actually started working full-time down in Sydney with KPMG in their risk consulting practice. So I did an internship with them, worked while I was doing honours with them, and then started the graduate program down in Sydney. And while I was down in Sydney, I actually had some conversations with the people I was working with, because I'd noticed that there was ways to improve what we were doing and sort of extend the way things are done in industry in this particular area. And meanwhile, I'd kept in contact with my supervisors back at Bond and just talking to them about ways that it could be improved, some ideas based on the techniques that I'd learned in my undergraduate and honours program. And from that came this partnership between Bond and KPMG. And so now my PhD is actually a partnered research project with KPMG. And I'm looking at developing a data-driven approach to operational risk management. So that's sort of my journey.
Thank you. Paul, I heard the US election had a huge effect on your choice of a double degree. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. So when I first started thinking about what I wanted to do after high school, I just knew that I wanted a career where I could travel and get paid for it without being a pilot. And when I was studying when I was in year 12, preparing for my last exam, I just found myself, drawn to the news a lot about what was happening in the US, about the election, and that helped me or guide me into the government and IR degree, but I also knew that in the extremely and cutthroat world of politics, you might also need something else professionally to fall back on. And so I enrolled in the international business degree as well as part of the double degree program that Griffith offers. And since I've been studying, I've actually been studying since 2013. But life happens. So after my first 2 years, I had to move to Brisbane for work. And I lived closer to a different institution. So I thought I'd move there. But I really missed the individual attention and professional opportunities that Griffith offered. In the business school, we run this student leadership program, which they call me a boomerang, the first of its kind, because I started, I left, and now I'm back again. But that program connects you to, first access to internships, community engagement with the university and the wider community, and access to job opportunities as well, where you can apply what you've learned in the classroom into real life. So, for example, what I've done most recently is facilitate a business and climate roundtable where we've had industry leaders and policymakers around climate in the same room talking about where to go forward now, because a lot of people say the government's not doing enough or the government needs to do more. And so we brought business and industry in the one room to talk about, how can we do that? And that's something which the business school helped me to achieve. Last year, I was working full-time, working for a couple of state MPs during the coronavirus pandemic and the state election, which is very stressful, but taught me a lot of important life skills. Communicating with people outside of my social circle, different demographics, all across the community with different problems, different issues that needed to be solved. For example, one time we had to find a gentleman and his partner, a new home within a 24-hour period. So that was really shaping for me, and really reinforced my drive to stick with the business and government program.
There's so many different areas of business that can be studied at university. Can each of you tell me why you just decided to focus on the particular area that you did?
Yeah, my choosing a major was quite difficult. I don't know what it was like for these guys. The great thing about most business degrees is that the first year you get to learn a few different concepts and you kind of work out what you enjoyed spending your time on, or working with your lecturers and tutorial teachers, you get an opportunity to talk about what it could entail. So I didn't have to choose my major until the end of my first year, which gave me a lot of flexibility, and I kind of needed that. I was a little bit lost what sort of pathway I wanted to go down. And I found choosing marketing for me, I really enjoyed being on the front face. I really enjoyed working with customers and being on the front of the brand in a sense, whatever I was working on, even as a part-time job working in retail. So I knew that was kind of like where I fitted and the vision I kind of had. You know, working with finance and stuff, it was definitely not my skill set. Although the great thing about your first year of business and understanding economics and accounting and finance, they give you really great life skills, especially in your everyday life and how to use your money appropriately. I'm really lucky that I had that opportunity to get that skill set, even though it wasn't something I was passionate about, but utilize that in every single day in life. Yeah.
So coming out of high school, for me, during high school, I loved maths. I was one of those weird people who loved maths, and I still am. And so I knew I wanted to do something with numbers when I left school, but I didn't necessarily want to do a pure mathematics degree because I also loved the whole concept of business and finance and making things more efficient for organisations in the way that they run. So I definitely had that sort of businessy mindset, but I knew that I wanted to keep doing stuff with numbers. I didn't want to just go and do marketing or just go and be an accountant and do just basic number stuff. I wanted to do more than that. So for me, it just was kind of crazy. I went to a Bond Open Day and it happened to be the first year that they were launching actuarial science, which I'd never heard of before. But for those of you who don't know what actuarial science is, basically it is a commerce degree with a lot more maths shoved in there. So it kind of combines finance and maths. And it's all about predicting the probability of risky events happening and then trying to put a price tag on that, so as you can probably imagine from that description, actuaries usually go into insurance. So you analyse the probability of something happening and then the price tag is the premium that you put on that. And more so, actuaries are expanding to more what we call non-traditional fields. So traditionally they go into insurance or superannuation. More so they're going into the field of data analytics, which spreads across a whole heap of different industries. So from health to banking to sport, basically any industry where they're collecting data, which is, we all know, everything these days. How can we use that data to more efficiently achieve the business outcomes? So that's sort of where I've headed down with actuarial science, but it all stemmed from that love of maths from high school.
Cool. And before I start, I will say that since I first started uni, Griffith has just restructured their business program so that you do your introductory courses and you get to sample different different parts of business. So that's data analytics, sustainability goals, management, and so on. But for me, when I first started, I was quite the opposite. I am terrible with numbers. I do not want to work with maths at all. But I was surprisingly all right at economics. And my tutor suggested that in my career I should consider management consulting because of that, and also because of when the reasons I told you before. I wanted a truly global career. As you can probably tell from my accent, I've lived in other countries before. I'm a citizen now. I love Australia. But before I get too old, I do want to have different experiences in different countries. And one of the reasons why I came back to Griffith was because it's focus on Asia and the importance of this region as you go forward into business and the different opportunities opening up as countries develop. So yeah, that's why I'm sticking with the international business major.
Since you guys started uni, have you discovered any new opportunities or changed your mind about what your future career may be? I know you have.
Yeah, and I think, you guys could probably all talk when it comes to business, even in finance, that your job could look very different as, we do grow older and opportunities do arise. I know for me, the great thing about studying business degrees, a lot of people forget that a hospital is a business, a school, even a high school is a business. A careers expo is a business. All these concepts are different businesses, and as long as you can apply that set of skills and understanding that you do have, you can apply it to almost any industry. So I'm not set in my ways in terms of what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm quite flexible. In fact, I have now a newfound passion to go back into the health industry. My partner being a physiotherapist, we do have a goal to maybe open our own clinic one day, and applying my love for obviously the health industry and my business skills and her skills in that specialization, we can work together as a duo team in terms of I'll run operations and she'll focus on her specialization. So, but in saying that, things can change, the world changes. I could end up overseas in a different country and look out for other opportunities, and just seeing whatever skill set I have from my business degree and applying it to that, and always just seeing what's out there.
Yeah, I definitely agree that don't have a one-track mind of where things could go. I didn't know I'd be doing a PhD right now. I sort of had that on my radar of things potentially to do at some point in my life, but I wanted it to be on a project that would be directly linked to industry, so that what I was doing would have actual impacts on organisations. And it just so happened that this project came up when it did, so it worked out nicely. But the other thing to consider is if you do think you sort of want to go into a niche area, so for example, with actuarial science, it's more niche than just a standard business or commerce degree. But the way that those sort of programs are structured is you still do have a lot of the intro subjects. As Cody was mentioning before, you do the intro to economics, you do the intro to finance, intro to accounting, and they're right at that front end of the degree. Which essentially means that the actuarial science students are doing the exact same courses as the business students and the Bachelor of Commerce students in that sort of first 2 semesters. So if you start that and then you have your first taster of a pure actuarial science subject and it's not quite what you like, you haven't really wasted any time, because those first two semesters are the same as in a commerce degree. So you can slip back just into a general commerce degree and then have a greater choosing of different majors to go into then. So definitely don't limit your options, and don't be afraid to try something that sparks your interest but it doesn't work out. It's not lost time.
Yeah, absolutely echo what these guys have said. Have an open mind, open yourself up to opportunities. And, I've noticed recently there's been some clickbaity articles floating around on, are business schools even relevant anymore in this 21st century? And I say yes, absolutely, because we're not just in the classroom anymore. We do our introductory studies. Griffith, we also talk about the purpose of business. Why is it we do what we do, and how can we leverage business to meet the challenges that we're facing in terms of climate change and water and sustainable living and all this. So by the time you're into your second and third years, you're already applying what you learned in the classroom just a year ago. And you're already, being needed and recruited by people who, need to make an effect in their community. The beauty of business studies is that it's often a great springboard into something you want to do. So as you go through your degree, you may find that, yes, you do have an interest in, data science, and that's when you may want to consider, a postgraduate qualification, for example. If you're really good at it, you might not even need it. So, business is a great opportunity, and, of course, at university generally, you're also going to have, broad opportunities at uni, like getting involved with a student guild, talking to people outside of your faculty, people in the community. So I'll never be good at concluding sentences, but yeah.
The Gold Coast unis really like to ensure that their students get a lot of hands-on experience. Can you talk me through the practical experiences that you each have had?
Yeah, I'd believe if anyone ever considers doing a business degree or a health degree or anything, if there's an opportunity to do an internship or placement experience, they're the most hands-on experience you're going to have. We're a bit different to the model that America uses, where you go to college and then you go get the job. When you apply for a job, what I've found is that the more you have, besides the fact that piece of paper that you have, the work experience that you have is just as important. I would find that most business degrees have an opportunity where you can do an internship. You usually do a subject that gives you the skills on how to find an internship or how to have your resume up to date to find the one that's appropriate for you. Or some universities even have the opportunities where they have like-minded partners where you can apply for a job or an internship opportunity. Some of these are paid, some of these are voluntary. My internship was paid. I actually approached the company that I was working for and I said, hey, I really want to do an internship with you guys. And the rules for that for our university was, hey, you can work for your current company, but you have to do a different role to what you normally do. So the great thing I got to do was do a brand marketing role versus what I was doing, which was operational state manager. And I got to learn all about fabrics, materials, and I got to travel over India with the company and learn more about that sort of samples and product sort of stuff to project what we should be using in Australia in terms of quality of materials and everything, and what our audiences really want to wear when it comes to like men's fashion and suiting. So that was really cool. It was paid, so I got paid while I got to study and complete 4 subjects, which was good. You know, I saved some money, as well as having an experience I wouldn't have had unless I got to approach my own company or go for an internship opportunity and have that on my resume as doing another type of role compared to what I was obviously doing as a part-time job.
Likewise, so definitely opportunities for internships to do on top of your studies. And at Bond, which I'm sure most of the unis have, we have a career development centre. So that is a dedicated facility on campus with people who are right in looking at jobs and applying for jobs all the time to help you through that application process. Similarly, at Bond, there's specifically in our business faculty in the actuarial science space, we have a lot of partnerships with companies specific to Bond. So since Bond's the only university in Queensland to offer actuarial science, a lot of the insurance companies, superannuation firms, data analytics consultancies, they come to Bond saying, we need graduates. You're the only university that's offering them. Can we get interns? Can we get graduates? So we have a direct link there, which we're very fortunate for. And then on top of that, there's a lot of opportunities to do placement or get industry experience in your actual subjects. So in our data science major at Bond, we have a capstone course. And essentially that was one subject where after we'd learned all the technical and theoretical knowledge from the techniques, we got to work with a company who the uni hooked us up with. And we were consulting them on solving a business problem. So in my capstone, I worked with the Gold Coast Airport, and we worked on trying to use the data from their security processing area to work out how efficiently they could move people through there, if they were meeting their targets, when they should open up more lanes, when they should put more staff on. So that was, again, a practical experience within one of my subjects. And then there's also extracurricular opportunities such as the CFA Challenge, which is through the CFA institution, Chartered Financial Analysts. And that was where, as a small group of students, we actually worked on valuing a company. So Domino's was the company for that year, and part of this broader challenge, we did a massive business report and tried to offer either a buy or sell recommendation, and then we ended up going to Sydney and presenting to a board of people as part of that sort of competition. So that was another great sort of practical experience.
Yeah, for me, I think I've touched on briefly before, I was able to work and campaign last year, so work for state MPs and then in my own free time, be on the campaign, on the ground. And that really gives you an insight into a lot about how the decisions of government are made. So you get to, you figure out very quickly what's council responsible for, what state government's responsible for. You learn about the relationships between the MPs, the bureaucracy, power structures, and all the rest of it. And of course, you get to talk with people from all across the community in your campaigning activity. You also learn about when political campaigns go on, there's always this talk about jobs. How are jobs created? How can we foster jobs? How can we get more jobs? How can we make secure jobs? Anyway. And working with the MP, you get a lot of insight into what small business owners want and how we can attract new investments. And that's really practical for when you, particularly if you're fortunate enough to do that during uni, that's invaluable experience to take when you do graduate. Because then you go into a small or large business and then you say, well, you already have the edge, right? Because you know what assets companies are looking for, you know what skills you need, and then when you're at uni, you have the opportunity to develop those skills before you graduate and go on. So.
We can take some questions from the audience if anyone has a question for any of these guys. Any questions? No? Well, if you'd like to know more about studying business or you want to chat to these guys one-on-one, they're going to be at their education providers booths for today. So please go over and say hello. Thank you all so much for joining me on stage and chatting all things business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.